Do you think the Sahara is nothing more than a dead sea of sand? A place where the sun burns away every trace and the wind only drags silent dunes across the horizon? But what if, beneath that layer of sand, there were once people who looked up at the sky to measure the seasons? Artists who carved the memory of a vanished green world into stone, fragments of glass born from heat powerful enough to melt rock, and a giant eye on the surface of the earth that reminds people of the legend of Atlantis. The Sahara may not be an empty space on the map. It may be an ancient archive sealed beneath sand, where every stone, every drawing, every circular mark on the ground still holds a question that has never been fully answered. And the first mystery does not begin with pyramids or a lost city, but with a few small stones standing in silence in the middle of a lake bed that dried up long ago. In southwestern Egypt, in a barren landscape where today there is little more than stone, sand, and a horizon trembling in the heat, there is a place called Nabta Playa. At first glance, it does not seem important enough to change the way we think about the past. There are no giant walls, no statues of gods, only a few stone slabs standing still, as if someone had forgotten them in the middle of the desert. But it is exactly this quiet modesty that makes Nabta Playa so unsettling, because this place was not always dead land. Thousands of years ago, during the wetter phases of the Sahara, this area may once have been a seasonal lake. Water came and went, bringing grasses, herds, herders, gatherings of people, and perhaps even rituals connected to survival. In a world like that, knowing when the rains would come was not a luxury. It was the line between life and death. What makes the stones of Nabta Playa so remarkable is the way they were arranged. Some studies suggest that these stone slabs may have been connected to the direction of the sunrise, the seasons of the year, and observations of the sky. From ground level, they may look like nothing more than scattered objects. But when viewed along their axes of orientation, people begin to realize that they were not placed there by chance. And if that is true, Nabta Playa raises a much larger question. Did ancient communities in the Sahara know how to turn the sky into a calendar? Did they watch the position of the sun and the stars to measure time, predict the season of water, and decide when to stay or when to move on? We often imagine ancient astronomical knowledge as something belonging to civilizations with temples, writing, and kings. But here, a few small stones whisper of another possibility. The ancient people of the Sahara did not merely survive. They observed, they remembered, they passed knowledge from one generation to the next. And if Nabta Playa shows that they knew how to look up at the sky, the next mystery shows that they also knew how to record a world that has disappeared. Leaving Nabta Playa behind, our journey takes us to Tassili in Ager, a rocky plateau in Algeria, where cliffs and natural shelters preserve an ancient gallery of images that reveals another Sahara, one almost impossible to imagine when looking at the desert today. Now this region feels dry, isolated, and silent. But on the stone, hands from the past left behind proof that a far more living world once existed here. The images of Tassili and Ager are like the pages of a book without words. On them are wild animals, hunting scenes, herds of cattle, and human figures moving through an ancient landscape. They point back to a Sahara that was once wetter, greener, filled with water, grass, and life, gathered around places of settlement. What is striking is how refined many of the images are. The animals have posture, motion, muscle, and lines clear enough to show that the artists were not unskilled. They looked closely at the world around them, and they preserved it through images. But that is exactly why another group of drawings becomes even more puzzling. These are the so-called round-headed figures, with large heads, few facial features, and unusual bodies that seem almost covered in ritual clothing. Some of the figures are large, standing in the rocky space like shadows stepping out of humanity's deepest memory. They do not resemble ordinary scenes of daily life, nor can they be easily explained with one simple sentence. The most reliable approach is not to rush into turning them into evidence of anything extraordinary. Researchers may interpret them as ritual images, masks, spiritual symbols, or traces of a worldview for which the key has been lost. But the question remains, if the artists of Tassili could depict animals with such life and precision, why were some human figures deliberately made so strange? Were they drawing people in ritual, gods, blurred memories, or a lost state of consciousness? That is why Tassili in Ajer is not just an open-air museum. It is the visual memory of a green Sahara, a place where human beings did not only hunt and herd animals, but also imagined, worshipped, and told stories through stone. Yet rock art is still the trace of a human hand. The next mystery comes from something that does not look like a work of art at all, but more like the scar of a catastrophe. In a desert region far from every ancient center of settlement, among dry stretches of sand and gravel, people have found strange fragments of glass. They are pale yellow, sometimes translucent, sometimes shining with a faint greenish glow under the sun. But Libyan desert glass is not the product of an ordinary glass workshop. It is a geological mystery that has been lying there for an immense span of time. What makes this glass special is its high silica content and the conditions believed to be required for its formation. Conditions involving extremely high temperatures. Sand does not simply turn into glass because of desert sunlight. To create it, there had to be a violent event, possibly connected to a meteorite impact, an airburst of a celestial body, or an extreme thermal process that is still debated. In other words, somewhere in the Sahara, there was once a moment when sand and stone were exposed to terrifying heat, enough to transform ordinary matter into glass. And this is where the story becomes uncomfortable. The glass exists. Signs of very high heat exist. Hypotheses about an impact or explosion exist. But a complete answer is still not simple. If an object from space created that heat, where exactly is the trace of the event? If it was an airburst, how powerful was it? And how brightly did the sky above the Sahara burn at that moment? This mystery becomes even more fascinating because Libyan desert glass is not only a geological story. The ancient Egyptians once knew this material and used it in precious jewelry. A piece of glass born from a distant natural event entered the symbolic world of power, ritual, and immortality. So the Sahara does not only preserve traces of life, it also preserves the wounds of great events, moments when sky, fire, and earth met in silence. But if Libyan desert glass makes us wonder what fell here, the next mystery makes many people ask whether a legendary city might once have stood among giant circles in the middle of the desert. If there is one place in the Sahara that sets the human imagination on fire from the very first glance, it is the Richat structure, also known as the Eye of the Sahara. From the ground, it may look like nothing more than a dry, rocky region. But when seen from above, from satellite images, it appears like an open eye in the middle of the continent. Concentric rings fold into one another, forming a shape so strange that it is hard to believe it is entirely natural. That point of view turns a remote, rocky landscape into a visual symbol, a place where science begins to meet the ancient human instinct for storytelling. Geologically, the Richat structure is usually explained through uplift, erosion, and differences between layers of rock. Over time, erosion exposed rings of stone with different levels of resistance, creating a massive pattern visible from above. This explanation is reasonable, and it shows that nature, too, can create forms that seem as though they were designed by a hand. But Richat became famous for more than geology. It became a focus of curiosity because many people noticed details that recall ancient descriptions of Atlantis. Atlantis was described as a land with a circular structure, layers of land and water alternating with one another, and a connection to a lost civilization. When those details are placed beside the Eye of the Sahara, people are pulled into a question. Is this only a coincidence or a geographical clue that was once forgotten? There is no solid evidence to say that Richat is Atlantis, No city has been excavated there. No ancient canals have been confirmed. No archive of text declares that the legend has finally been found. But that very gap creates its own pull. Richat does not prove Atlantis, but it makes us wonder why the image of a lost circular city resonates so strongly with a real structure in the Sahara. Perhaps many ancient legends were not precise maps, but distorted echoes of memory. A flood, a dried land, a vanished center of settlement, a geographical shape passed down through speech and slowly transformed into myth. When looking at the eye of the Sahara, one does not necessarily find Atlantis, but one does find a reminder that we should not be too quick to dismiss every legend as empty imagination. And that is what makes Richat so special. It stands on the border between science and myth, between geological layers of stone and ancient stories that modern people still return to. But not every mystery of the Sahara needs Atlantis. There are places with no famous legend, no named lost city, and yet they are still powerful enough to make history tread carefully. From the eye of the Sahara, the journey leads deeper into the Ahagar Mountains of Algeria, a harsh and remote space where mountain stone rises from the sea of sand like the spine of an ancient world. Ahagar does not tell its story through monuments that are easy to recognize. It preserves a sense of wilderness and the feeling that many things still remain beyond our understanding. In these mountains, many different types of stone structures have been recorded. There are circles, there are straight lines, there are clusters of stones, there are mounds, there are rectangular forms in areas arranged with clear intention. Some may be connected to burials, rituals, herding, or marking territory. But there are also structures that cannot easily be placed into any familiar category. They lie in silence like fragments of a sentence with its beginning and ending missing, waiting for someone in the future to recover the lost context. Many of these structures do not reveal their meaning when you stand beside them. They may look like stones piled on stones, low lines, or circles blurred by time. But when seen from above, from a wide vantage point, some shapes begin to look more like a system than an accident. Who were the ancient builders expecting to see them? From the ground, from a mountain slope, from a route of movement, or from a lost symbolic system that still challenges our curiosity? Silent circles without labels, without explanations, without a storyteller, only ancient geometry, as if someone had left a question for the future. Perhaps they were places of remembrance for the dead, markers for herds, communal ritual spaces, or sacred maps. But one thing is certain, they show that the Sahara was not empty. People once arranged space here, left marks here, and gave meaning to stone. Ahagar represents many of the Sahara's mysteries. Not everything is hidden by conspiracy. Many things simply have not yet been studied enough, not yet read to the end, not yet approached with the right questions. 5 mysteries, 5 different doors, but all of them lead to one problem. How much of the Sahara do we truly understand? The Sahara is no longer just a yellow, empty space on the map. Nabta Playa shows that ancient communities may have looked at the sky as a living calendar. Tassili in Ager preserves the memory of a green Sahara, where art and symbols still leave many questions behind. Libyan desert glass reminds us of an event connected to extreme heat. The eye of the Sahara brings science and myth closer together through its giant rings. And Ahagar shows that there are still stone structures waiting to be read. The Sahara is not a dead land, because history sometimes begins with a forgotten question. It is a vast book with many pages covered by sand, many lines blurred by time, and many questions still waiting for someone patient enough to seek the answer. Some of the images in this video may be real footage, archival material, satellite images, or reconstructions created with artificial intelligence tools to help viewers better imagine the ancient context. These reconstructions do not replace scientific evidence. They only help broaden the way we see the story. Which mystery do you think deserves a deeper look in the next episode? If this video gave you a new perspective on the Sahara, Leave a like, share it with people who love history, archaeology, and mystery, and subscribe to the channel to support us in creating more valuable exploration content.